Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves. Imagine trying to predict a global emergency in a financial spreadsheet.
You literally can't do it.
Right, you cannot do it. Analysts just cannot confidently forecast a once-in-a-century event. And, well, that is the exact problem Moderna has faced recently. That is, until today.
Yeah, today definitely changes the math on that.
Exactly. So the headline we were looking at is that FDA advisors have officially backed Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine. It's called mFlusiva, and this specific recommendation is targeting adults aged 50 and older.
Right. And if we are looking at the current timeline, the final FDA decision is expected by August 5, 2026.
So our goal today is very straightforward. We are going to look at this single healthcare headline, take the stack of articles, the research, our own notes, and just connect the dots. We want to lay out the exact market winners and losers.
Yeah, because whether you track biotech portfolios closely or, you just watch pharmacy foot traffic in your own neighborhood, knowing the specific companies affected by this approval really helps clarify the broader market landscape.
Oh, for sure.
It gives you this direct line of sight into how capital is actually moving based on these regulatory milestones. I mean, you are basically looking at a real-time stress test of business models here.
When I look at Moderna's situation with this, it honestly reminds me of a musician trying to prove they aren't a one-hit wonder.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. Like, the COVID-19 vaccine was their global smash hit. It was literally everywhere. But after the slowdown in that specific initial demand, they're kind of in a position where they need to prove they can produce a reliable annual summer anthem, so to speak.
Yeah, they need that recurring seasonal revenue stream just to prove their entire business model has real longevity.
Exactly. So let's logically start with the companies directly producing this technology and, why this specific approval matters for their financial architecture.
The clearest winning group right out of the gate is obviously the mRNA platforms.
Right.
The FDA advisor support gives investors a very, very tangible reason to believe mRNA works in large, recurring, seasonal vaccine categories. I mean, this is not just about one single flu shot.
No, definitely not.
It is about whether the market starts valuing these platforms as long-term seasonal businesses.
And just to be clear, the specific tickers we were talking about here are mRNA for Moderna and BNTX for BioNTech.
Yep, those are the main two.
So I want to pause on how analysts actually build their financial models for a company like mRNA. Because when you have a specialty product that's tied to a global emergency, your revenue looks like a sudden mountain peak on a chart.
It's a massive spike.
Right. It spikes rapidly and then drops off completely when the immediate need ends. Does this FDA backing completely change how investors calculate the floor value of mRNA and BNTX, like moving them from pandemic specialties to routine healthcare staples?
Yeah, it really does. Because investors struggle to assign a long-term value to that mountain peak profile you mentioned. It's just inherently unpredictable.
You can't model an emergency.
Exactly. But routine healthcare staples, like a seasonal flu shot, provide a totally different financial structure. I mean, flu season happens every single year.
Like clockwork.
Right. The demand is measurable, the demographics are well understood, and the supply contracts with governments and healthcare providers are negotiated well in advance.
So when analysts look at mRNA and BNTX now, they're trying to establish a new floor value.
Yeah, they're looking for that baseline.
We are really talking about the worst-case scenario stock price. Investors are suddenly saying, even if there are no emergency pandemics, this company is virtually guaranteed a certain amount of cash every November.
And that predictability is everything. It puts a hard floor under how low the stock can drop. Analysts can finally plug predictable, recurring cash flows into their discounted cash flow models.
Which is what Wall Street loves.
Exactly. The companies are no longer evaluated solely on their emergency capabilities. They're evaluated as steady utilities. The underlying technology platform gets validated in a routine setting. If mFlusiva reaches the market, the assumption is that the same molecular mechanics, the ability to instruct cells to produce a protein, can just be adjusted to target other recurring viruses.
It is kind of the difference between valuing a company that makes a single software application versus valuing the entire operating system.
That's a perfect analogy.
If the operating system is stable, you can just keep building new apps on top of it year after year.
And the market starts pricing in that platform's repeatability.
Yeah.
If you can target the flu, you can target RSV or other endemic respiratory viruses using the exact same underlying mechanism.
Because the hardware is already built.
Right. The hardware is built. You are literally just changing the software code.
But, Moderna cannot just print revenue by making a successful vial in a lab. The bottleneck for this entirely new revenue stream is the physical distribution.
Always is.
Right. A vaccine needs to get from a laboratory manufacturing site into an actual patient's arm. And that brings us to the secondary winners here, which are the logistics and retail players.
Yeah, so if Moderna's flu shot is approved and adopted, pharmacies and healthcare distribution channels benefit directly from just having another seasonal product moving through the system.
Just more volume overall.
Exactly. More vaccine options can support patient visits, store traffic, appointment activity, and physical inventory movement during that peak flu season.
Right.
Now, the exact benefit depends on a few things. It depends on adoption rates, pricing, and how quickly healthcare providers actually add the product to their vaccine programs.
For healthcare access, the tickers to watch here are CVS for CVS Health and WBA for Walgreens Boots Alliance.
Yep.
But, I am looking at the numbers for annual flu shots, and the baseline number of adults getting a shot is relatively stable year over year.
Very stable, yeah.
So I have to push back a little here. Since flu season happens every year regardless, does adding one more vaccine brand actually increase overall pharmacy traffic, or are we just changing which box the pharmacist pulls from the fridge?
It's a fair question. And on the surface, it does look like a simple inventory swap. But there are specific mechanisms where a new product can marginally increase overall traffic and revenue.
Okay, like what?
Well, first is marketing and awareness. When a completely new technology hits the market, pharmaceutical companies launch massive educational and promotional campaigns.
Oh, right. The TV commercials alone.
Exactly. And that extra visibility in the media can actually remind people who usually skip their annual shot to make an appointment.
It expands the total addressable market simply by taking up more oxygen in the news cycle.
Exactly. Even if a small percentage of holdouts decide to, try the new mRNA option, that is net new foot traffic for CVS and WBA.
That makes sense.
And the second mechanism is pricing power and margin. Different vaccines have different reimbursement rates from insurance companies and Medicare.
Right, they aren't all priced the same.
No, not at all. So if a pharmacy chain can negotiate a better margin on a newer premium product, their bottom line improves, even if the absolute number of people walking through the door stays exactly the same.
Wow, okay. I also want to look closely at the basket economics of a pharmacy visit, because when someone walks into CVS or WBA for a medical appointment, they rarely just get the shot and immediately walk out.
Almost never.
Right. You book an appointment online, you walk to the pharmacy counter, which is, by the way, purposefully located at the very back of the store, and you have to walk past all the seasonal aisles to get there.
It's designed that way for a reason.
Exactly. Consumers frequently leave with a basket of goods. Vitamins, paper towels, cold medicine. The shot itself is often treated as a high-margin traffic driver.
Yeah, and if mFlusiva's rollout involves targeted digital scheduling that drives foot traffic on traditionally slower days, the pharmacies capture that ancillary retail spend.
But before a consumer even books that digital appointment, someone has to transport those vials across the country.
Right, the logistics side.
Yeah. Vaccines need ordering, specialized storage, shipping, and national distribution frameworks. For distribution, we are looking at MCK for McKesson and COR for Cencora.
Those are the big ones.
To me, this feels like the classic dynamic of selling shovels during a gold rush. The distributors make money on the volume of shovels moved, regardless of who actually strikes gold in the hills.
That's entirely accurate. And handling requirements play a major role here, which is why it is more nuanced than just, moving generic boxes on a truck.
What do you mean by handling requirements?
Well, moving specialized pharmaceuticals often requires distinct temperature controls.
Right.
If new mRNA products require specific cold chain handling protocols compared to traditional flu shots, distributors might be able to charge premium service fees for managing that specialized supply chain.
Oh, so they get paid for the complexity of the logistics, not just the sheer volume.
Exactly.
So MCK and COR have the existing infrastructure to guarantee a vial stays at a precise temperature from a factory in Massachusetts all the way to a clinic in rural Texas. And they can charge a premium for that reliability.
They absolutely can. They may not get the same headline reaction as Moderna, but they represent a very clear second-order trading impact. Because if a pharmacy is stocking this new premium product, someone else's box is getting pushed to the back of the fridge.
And that leads us directly to the losers in this scenario.
Yeah, it naturally does.
So if pharmacies and distributors are moving a new mRNA product, another company's product might just sit on the shelf. The first group facing pressure here is the traditional flu vaccine incumbents.
Right, the established players.
If Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine is approved and gains traction, traditional flu vaccine makers face a new competitive threat. These companies already have established flu vaccine businesses, but a successful mRNA product raises immediate questions about future market share.
Yeah, it challenges their pricing power and whether older vaccine platforms look less attractive to investors.
And the traditional tickers here are SNY for Sanofi, GSK for GSK, and AZN for AstraZeneca.
Right. And the penalty here is grounded in the physical realities of how supply contracts are negotiated and fulfilled.
How so?
Well, traditional flu vaccines, many of which use egg-based or cell-based manufacturing, require a very long lead time. The global health authorities have to predict the upcoming flu strains months in advance, so these companies have the necessary time to manufacture hundreds of millions of doses.
The physical reality of that is wild to me.
It's an incredible undertaking.
They have to start literally brewing the vaccine, often using millions of chicken eggs, in February or March just to be ready for the first leaf to fall in autumn.
Yeah.
It is a massive, physical, slow-moving logistical operation. But if these traditional companies already have the established supply chains and the relationships, why does the market penalize them immediately? Is this purely about investor sentiment favoring the speed of new technology over established relationships?
It's largely about speed, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that long lead time, if the dominant flu strain mutates late in the season, the traditional vaccines might have lower efficacy.
Oh, because they're already locked in.
Exactly. They are completely locked into the strains they started manufacturing 6 months prior. The market values mRNA because it operates on a much shorter timeline.
Right.
The underlying genetic code can be updated rapidly without waiting for biological growth cycles in eggs or cells.
So the market is looking at a future where mRNA companies might be able to wait longer to see exactly which flu strain is actually circulating in the population, update the vaccine code, and hit the market with a more accurate match.
Yeah, and investors look at that mechanical advantage and realize the traditional incumbents might eventually lose their pricing power.
Even with those solid relationships.
Even with them. Because if SNY and GSK have rock-solid relationships with bulk buyers today, if an mRNA competitor consistently offers a more accurate match due to manufacturing speed, governments and pharmacies will just switch their orders.
They have to.
Right. So the stock market discounts the value of those incumbents today because they anticipate that margin pressure 3 to 5 years from now.
Basically, the market is penalizing them immediately for carrying a rigid business model in a sector that is suddenly rewarding agility.
Perfectly said. But we also have to look at non-mRNA vaccine technology names.
Okay, who falls into that category?
Well, this group could be pressured if investors decide mRNA has a stronger long-term position in respiratory vaccines. The market may become more selective and reward companies with faster, more adaptable platforms.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that puts alternative technologies in position where they face tougher comparisons, especially if mRNA products keep gaining regulatory support. The alternative tech tickers to watch are NVAX for Novavax and DVAX for Dynavax.
For companies like NVAX and DVAX, the pressure is really about capital allocation, right? I mean, institutional investors only have so much money to deploy in the biotech sector.
Right, it's a zero-sum game in many ways. If portfolio managers decide mRNA is the dominant framework for respiratory diseases, they rotate their capital out of alternative technologies and consolidate it into the clear winners.
They do not want to fund the second best or third best mechanism of action.
Exactly. The capital just flows toward the technology demonstrating the most regulatory momentum.
And the pressure doesn't stop at direct flu competitors. It actually extends to how the market judges the agility of the entire pharmaceutical landscape.
Oh, absolutely.
That brings us to the broader market and the large pharma losers. Big pharma companies with broad vaccine exposure face a tougher narrative here.
Yeah, they do.
Investors will start asking if large, diversified healthcare companies can defend their franchises against these faster-moving biotech platforms. The immediate impact here is more about sentiment and future competition than a sudden loss of revenue.
Right.
And the tickers we are watching in this category are PFE for Pfizer and J&J for Johnson & Johnson.
So Wall Street values companies based on their growth projections. When a massive company reports earnings, analysts are meticulously looking at their pipeline to see where the next decade of growth will come from.
Just to sustain their dividend payouts, mostly.
Right. Market sentiment prices in future competition, years before the actual revenue declines, materialize on an income statement.
It feels counterintuitive, though, that a single FDA advisory backing for one flu shot can make investors question massive, globally diversified companies like PFE and J&J. I mean, these companies have their hands in oncology, immunology, medical devices.
They're everywhere. But the analysts start asking a very logical question. If Moderna can take market share in seasonal flu, what prevents them from targeting other lucrative areas of the established pharma pipeline?
Ah, I see.
The established giants rely heavily on their size as a protective moat. They have the massive capital reserves required to run global multi-year clinical trials and the sales forces to blanket every hospital network on Earth.
Right. Think of the clinical trial infrastructure for traditional pharma, like building a custom factory for every single product. It takes years to build a factory, test the machinery, and get the product out the door.
Exactly.
But mRNA is like a 3D printer. You do not need to build a new factory, you just need to upload a new digital file.
That's a great way to visualize it.
And if the core technology of a smaller competitor allows for faster drug discovery and quicker regulatory turnarounds, that massive size suddenly becomes a liability.
And, the market despises uncertainty.
Eats it.
When a new technology proves it can operate outside of an emergency setting and function as a routine commercial enterprise, it injects uncertainty into the long-term forecasts of every traditional player in that space.
It really forces investors to question the durability of revenues that were previously considered untouchable.
Right. Suddenly, that multi-billion-dollar pipeline at PFE or J&J looks slightly more vulnerable to disruption.
Well, let's quickly recap the clear path of impact we have outlined today based on the notes we reviewed.
Sure.
On the winning side, the mRNA creators like mRNA and BNTX, along with the distributors like MCK and COR, benefit from volume and validation.
Yep.
And then on the losing side, traditional incumbents like SNY and GSK, along with large pharma competitors, face a tougher narrative regarding their speed and adaptability.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
If the mRNA platform can successfully adapt from emergency pandemic use to routine seasonal flu, what other annual or routine medical treatments are next in line for a biotech overhaul?
That's a big question.
The mechanism of action here has been proven in one of the most common medical routines in the world. The real question is where that mechanism is pointed next.
This is not financial advice or buy or sell recommendations. This is purely the opinion of the author.